Welcome to Tiny Game Chronicles episode 45. My name is Marcus, and here with my good friend Michael. Every other week, we discuss games that are quick plays, but epic journeys. It's great to see you today, Michael. It's only been a couple days since we last recorded. Peek behind the curtain here for listeners.
Yes.
How are you doing today, my friend?
Much better than the day than we recorded last because we were in the middle of a heat wave. So we still have some heat, but it's way more bearable now. Than on the day that we recorded. Yeah. So good to be here, Marcus.
For the weather report for our listeners, it is pouring rain. It poured rain all day here yesterday. Okay. It's cold. It's like I've got my hoodie on. It is. It's not even 10 degrees Celsius right now. It is not super pleasant, but hopefully things will be turning up in the next couple of days.
I'm here with my t-shirt for those who can't see the video, and because it isn't that hot, I'm also have my pants on this time. So
that's good. Always good to know. You have to disclose it, right?
Exactly.
Okay, Michael, I have a question for you before we get started. Yes. The game we're going to be talking about today is Forbidden Solitaire. So I have to know, what is your favorite card game?
Also,
we're talking playing cards. We're not talking like deck builders and
100%. So Marcus, I'm not exactly sure how your adventure went. I think most of my life I've been pretty solo. So Solitaire kind of fits to the idea is that I've really started playing cards. Except let's not talk about Uno, because Uno I think is something that I played in my childhood. But as an adult, probably the Windows Solitaire game, if that kind of makes sense. So that's kind of where I started. And I think during my military days, definitely some poker, and my personal favorite, perhaps blackjack. So I would say poker and blackjack. That's where I am. And other than that, when I'm on my time wasting kind of mindset, which I don't know when that was the last time that I had such time, it would be Solitaire on the Windows PC. What about you?
So I've got a couple. One I think is a very as I've gotten older and grown up and kind of lived in different parts of the world, I think it's a very regional game.
Yeah.
To kind of like Eastern Canada. It's called euchre. Have you ever heard of euchre?
Never
Michael?
heard of it.
Never heard of euchre.
No.
So it is primarily played like with 4 people. You only use like part of the deck. You use like the ace through 9. It's been a little while since I played it.
Okay.
And it involves like playing down cards. One of them is like a trump card, and you collect tricks, and you have to get 3 out of 5 tricks to get a point. And you play till 10. Anyways, it's very regional because people here in Western Canada, where I live now, most people don't know what it is unless they're from out east.
Right.
And I think that some parts of the like northeastern United States are familiar with euchre. So I think it's a very regional game. Anyways, played a lot of euchre. We would sit in our like high school like hallways playing euchre at lunch. Like this is a big thing. And then
funny.
The other one is cribbage, which is not just cards. Like, do you know crib?
I do know crib, and I've played some cribbage. I don't know, with some old ladies that I don't know fancied me. I think way back when. But not too many. But I couldn't even tell you what the rules are.
Oh, really?
But I do remember playing. So
yes. Yeah, well, we will always take our crib board playing when we go camping and stuff like that.
Okay.
So we always have the crib board. My parents are big into cards, so I guess I've learned these games through them. But yeah, I know, like I look at a hand of crib and know exactly which cards I want to keep, which ones I want to throw away, and count the points. And I'm all about crib. So
one day, there is no digital version of it, right? Or is there?
Oh yeah, there is. Sure, there is.
Is there? Okay.
Sure, okay. Yeah. I it's been years and years since I definitely remember playing a version of crib online. Yeah, it was funny. My younger brother, he would play in like these tournaments in our small town like curling club. They would have like these tournaments.
Yeah.
People got very serious in small town Northern Ontario playing crib, and like there's like so you could play like a version of crib that has 4 players, so you have two teams of 2, and you have to be very careful about what even you say, because it could be interpreted as like communicating to your partner. And he would always say, like,
Interesting.
they would always, like, the term is no table talk. You're not allowed to do table talk. Like, and they would get very angry. These seniors, like, just like being very militant about their
Ah,
cribbage playing. So
gotcha,
yeah, very
gotcha.
funny.
Thanks
Okay,
for
Michael,
that.
before we get into our game today, discussing our game today, I wanted to mention we had an awesome discussion with our good friend Matt Sawinski about
Yes.
Mixtape. Mixtape, I think, is a game that we all really enjoyed for different reasons. I mentioned it on the show, but we're all from a bit of different generations, and
Mhm.
really enjoyed this game. And I think we had an awesome discussion. Maybe one of our best ones yet, I think.
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely a game that has enjoyed a lot of spotlight, and I think rightly so. And it took me back to the 80s, right? Because that's when I kind of, finished high school and everything that was happening around them. And there are a lot of moments in the show that kind of bring back the recollections, the first time you fell in love, your first kiss. Well, there's definitely a section in the game that speaks on
Yes.
that, or touches upon that. So yeah, I loved it, and I wish that we would have more of those type of quality games. Yeah, loved it,
Yeah.
Marcus.
Yeah. Okay, Michael, let's begin our discussion about Forbidden Solitaire.
Dun dun dun.
Forbidden Solitaire released on PC only on April 30th, 2026. It was developed and published by two teams, Gray
Mhm.
Alien Studio and Night Signal Entertainment. In Forbidden Solitaire, you play as a character who has found a long lost CD-ROM game from your childhood, called Forbidden Solitaire, that had been linked to several disturbing incidents in the mid 90s. And of course, you're curious to check it out, to play the game, to see what this thing was all about. Gameplay mostly involves playing, as you might expect, solitaire. But the game does a lot to keep the gameplay interesting by introducing lots of different types of jokers and other modifiers. And you're battling enemies in this dungeon crawler setting. There's only a handful of reviews at the moment on OpenCritics, currently sitting at an 83, but it does have over 1,000 user reviews on Steam, and it is listed as overwhelmingly positive. So the people who
Nice.
have played it are really enjoying it. We start out these discussions, Michael, by asking ourselves three questions. What platform did you play it on? About how long did it take you to beat? And what are some high level thoughts?
So high level thoughts, Marcus. It's a horror game disguised as a card game, disguised as a CD-ROM from 1995.
Yep.
And I must say I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I was hooked right from the beginning. I played on PC as well as on Steam Deck. Went back to PC just because I could see the cards better. If that kind of makes sense. And it's definitely a game that I found had a wonderful pace, but I think a short warning. We do focus or want to focus on playing tiny games. I would say this is a tiny game XL. It took me 8 hours and 40 minutes before I completed it, which is slightly, in brackets, longer than what we would consider a tiny game. But Marcus, I absolutely love this game. It's not without its faults, right? We're gonna touch upon them. But yeah, that was my experience. How about you?
Yeah, we were misled a little bit, Michael, in terms of the
Yep.
game length. So obviously, with some of these things, there's not a lot of information ahead of time. And, I think it's the Steam page that we had found that this game
Mhm.
was, roughly 5 hours long. And so it also took me about 8 hours,
Mhm.
just a little over 8 hours to beat this game. So it definitely is not tiny, at least according to our criteria in terms of game
Yeah.
length. But it's every other criteria that you might consider a game to be tiny. Very small studios, you know, uh, small marketing budget, small, this is a small game in every sense, except for maybe it's a little bit, XL in terms of length, at least in terms of tiny length. So
100%.
I played it entirely on my Steam Deck. It works great on Steam Deck. I thought, I could see. I was a little worried, I guess, with cards and having to move a cursor around.
Mm,
That can sometimes be a little awkward on a
mm,
kind of a control pad. It
mm,
really felt pretty good. Like I had zero issues on Steam Deck. High level thoughts. I really enjoyed this game too, Michael. I was telling you offline that I played this game for uh 2 hours, which I rarely ever sit down like that first session for 2 hours.
mm.
And I was I had to go to bed, and I was like, I didn't want to put it down, and I was thinking about it all the next day until I had an opportunity to play it again the next evening. And it was just really on my mind. It starts out very strong. I think that that gaming loop doesn't evolve enough to keep me kind
Mm,
of like that jazzed about it, but it's
mm,
still a very good game, and we'll get into kind of maybe
mm.
some of those nitpicks, I guess, a little
Netflix.
bit. But
Exactly.
it's it's a very strong game, and I think like it does a lot to keep the solitaire fresh, which we're definitely going to get into
Yeah.
as we get into our deeper dive discussion. Okay, a brief reminder about how we talk about games on Tiny Game Chronicles. We like to identify three things that we think stood out. Could be good, could be bad, often mostly good. It's really the things that we think we're going to remember about the game maybe a year or two down the road. So that's how
Yes.
we define our standouts. And we also avoid spoilers most of the time on Tiny Game Chronicles. We'll do so here. There is a narrative associated with this game. We're not going to get too deep into the specifics of the narrative. We'll talk about the mechanics of the card game,
Mm.
but we'll keep the narrative very spoiler free. So
Yep.
if you haven't had a chance to play Forbidden Solitaire, you are safe to listen.
Yep.
Okay, Michael, let's get into our standouts for Forbidden Solitaire. The first thing that we wanted to talk about, I think like it's in the name. We want to talk about the solitaire game of Forbidden Solitaire. And I want to start by just saying like this is
Let's do it.
unlike solitaire that I am familiar with, right? The
Same,
solitaire
Marcus.
that you described at the very beginning, the Windows version of solitaire, this is not that. This is a lot more depth to it, and it's not even the same rules. Like even the base version before the game starts introducing a bunch of like bunch of modifiers and different kind of like gameplay mechanics. This is still not even that version of solitaire. So just to maybe preface it, like they're basically cards laid out in various patterns. Like it's not that same like that 7-row pattern with the aces
Correct.
on the top. Basically it's just like different piles of cards, and you can put kind of the next number in the sequence on top of any card, but it could be either side of the sequence, either higher or lower than the card, and you
Correct.
can keep kind of like going um by kind of going back and forth. So I could go, as an example, I could put like a 6 on top of a 5, and then I could put a 5 on top of that 6. And then I could
Correct.
put a 6 on top of that 5. You can keep going back and forth like that, which is not something that you do in the traditional, like that PC Microsoft Windows version of Solitaire. That's the one that I'm
Correct.
familiar with, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, and I think those patterns were interesting. I picked up the name like Tripeak somewhere. Tripeaks basically think of it as a triangle
Mm,
that could be straight up or upside down. And you always start with that one card, if that makes sense, right? And play into the covered rows as you move into the triangle from the point, right? Depending on where you start off. And I think Marcus, the game here, like it is in perhaps real solitaire, it's not only getting your sequence right, but it is at its core discovering the buried cards underneath,
totally.
right? And I
Yeah.
think this is what I like because, like what we have in Bellatro, um, you do play for achieving or getting specific jokers to help you power through the game and obviously beat your opponent. How was the Joker experience for you?
It was good. Like it certainly helps to change things up a bit. So you're not only having to worry about just these sequences of cards, you might get jokers. One of the other things before maybe I talk about jokers is that
Mm.
you also build up a cat I don't know, how would I even describe it? Mana. You build up
A
mana.
mana,
Yeah,
exactly.
you build up a mana which can get to a maximum of 40, and
Yeah.
then what you can use that mana in various ways, but like the one way is once you've got built up 40, you can eliminate certain cards that are face up,
Hmm.
and it also does damage to the enemy. This is something that we haven't even mentioned yet either. Is like
Correct.
you're you're playing cards to beat an enemy, and then the enemy can do stuff to you to you've got a health bar as well in all of this, right? So like the solitaire is just a means to defeat enemies. You have a
Correct.
certain amount of hit points, and um the longer of these streaks that you can build by like playing more and more cards, build extra streaks that builds your mana, that uh, creates more damage for the enemy. The longer the streak is more damage to the enemy. So there's lots of stuff going on.
Correct.
The jokers then add additional kind of modifiers and different conditions that you can play at any given time. So one joker could be you can play the joker that allows you to start with any card. You don't have to
Correct.
follow the suit, right? Or you. What's another good example of one, Michael? It could change the orientation of the cards on the map. It can shuffle everything up. Or another Joker could
Is it a fireball? So,
a
as an
fireball. It can
example,
remove
to
some
to
cards.
remove some cards on the table, so to
Yeah,
say, right? So,
yeah,
to go a little bit into the meta narrative, because we use the word mana, you kind of have an idea that magic is at play, right? If that kind of makes sense, right? So we're also dealing obviously with magical cards. We mentioned the jokers. You are, I'm not sure whether it'd be okay to say this, Marcus, but your protagonist that you are playing, it's not you, but the person that you're playing or the figure that you're playing is a wizard. I think that's pretty revealed quite early. It's also on the cover, right?
yeah. So
Um,
the
um,
character. So there's two characters. Like there's like multiple levels here, right?
yeah,
So there's
exactly.
so your character that has found the CD. His
Yes,
name is Will, I think, and
correct.
he's playing the game of Forbidden Solitaire
Yeah,
in this world.
yeah.
And the main character in the game of Forbidden Solitaire is this wizard like
Is this
character.
wizard
Yeah,
exactly that goes into a tower, and
yeah,
we'll cover that just now. So,
yeah,
you also have cursed cards
yes,
that your enemy then can use to cause damage to you every time you pick, like in your run, in your sequence, one of the cursed cards that are available to you. So that is also, I think, another aspect that kind of builds on each other. So I think at the beginning of the game, as we experience, is still pretty innocent without many jokers, right? So one of the goals that we have in the game is to, I think, Marcus, there are 28 jokers, if I'm not
that sounds about right. Something
that's
around that
about right. It's
number.
a
Yeah,
whole bunch of
yeah,
jokers, right, that you
lots.
can use. And not all are there to help you, right? They're also there to hinder you and to hurt you. So then you need to make a choice
Hmm.
with regards to what jokers you want to use. Is there anything else that you want to mention
Well,
with regards just,
there's a whole system for when you remove cards from a certain pile that might be
yeah,
you can collect gold, and you can
yeah,
use those gold to purchase gems, which are also things that help their add to additional modifiers or change the game up a little bit. This all sounds
correct.
very complicated. It isn't bad though. They drip feed it to you in a very good paced out way. So like by the end, we're kind of like talking about this from the knowledge of having played the entire game. So there's a lot of
Correct.
stuff totally here, but like
Yeah,
I wouldn't if it sounds overwhelming, I wouldn't let that dissuade you because it does a really good job at kind of drip feeding you this information and kind of layering everything on top of each other so that it's not overwhelming at the start.
no,
It's
not at
pretty
all.
straightforward to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it just really adds to the pace with regards to introducing you to the learning curve and slowly but surely exposing you to the jokers that you're there. I love the pace. of the game. I think, Marcus, you mentioned, right? So I think I had a similar experience about way longer than I planned to originally
Yeah.
start the game. So my settings are usually when I start a game about an hour.
Yeah.
I didn't want to let go of this game, to be totally
That
honest,
it's
right?
very
So
much one of those one more runs because it's like,
yeah,
okay, I get to this set part where I'm gonna get to play solitaire again. It's like, oh yes, I want to play this one more run of solitaire, one more run of solitaire. It very much is that. It's hard to put down. It
yeah,
really is hard to put down. I think that's a real testament to how engaging and how well they've developed this game of solitaire. Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So
They also use a Solitaire as a storytelling device. Through the other standouts, we're going to go a little bit more into this. So Solitaire per se, I think it's already in the name, right? It's a historically just a game that you play alone, and so the choices that you make are pretty deliberate. And there is a at the beginning of the game there is a tower that you go into that obviously has a dungeon. You navigate through various rooms, and each move that you make is a game. So it's actually used as the game is of Solitaire is used as a storytelling device. Yeah, and so you are slowly but surely introduced to this world that Will has entered. um and there are, and maybe this is a good intro into our next standout. There is a meta narrative that is happening, Marcus, right? As in standout two, as you continue to play the game.
there is a meta narrative. Yeah. So like basically we've kind of outlined it a little bit, but you're playing as Will,
Hmm.
and who has found the CD, and he basically when you load up the game, you're into Will's desktop, and basically he's popped his Forbidden Solitaire CD. So you have to like literally go onto a Windows desktop and
Which I loved.
click
Yeah.
on Forbidden Solitaire, and then you're getting like instant messages throughout from your sister, who is also aware of this game and who is aware of the controversies, or at least a little bit of the controversies surrounding this game when it came out in 1995. I think the game takes place in what, like 2019 or 2020 or
Yeah.
somewhere in
Yeah.
that neighborhood. Um, but they find this CD at a garage sale or something. I can't remember what
Hmm.
and then so like his sister is all like, we gotta see what this is about, and you're getting so DMs from her throughout, and there she's kind of slowly uncovering a lot of this story around the game. Like, what are these kind of weird happenings that happen to the people that played them, happen to the developers that made the game. And you also get a little bit of these audio logs throughout of the making of the game, and those kind of play just periodically throughout the game. So you're getting an interesting backstory about how the game was made. They introduce like FMV, so there's like little video clips or newspaper clippings and stuff like that. So you're getting like a lot of background information about what the heck happened and why this game kind of got buried, and like where what the story was. And it's a pretty interesting storytelling device, Michael.
Marcus, would you say that this is a horror game?
Yes, I would probably say it's a horror game. I would probably say I didn't find it particularly scary, but it's
Okay.
almost like, in a sense, like I was thinking a little bit, it gave me a little bit of like Blair Witch vibes. I don't know if you've seen, yeah,
Yeah.
like a little bit
Yeah.
of like that. Oh, this is this hidden thing that,
Yeah.
something bad happened in the past, and we got to be careful about this thing, right? Because something bad could potentially happen to us.
100%. So it's the reason why I asked you, because it exposes us to the 90s zeitgeist, right? That
Yes.
there was, and so we kind of see what the world looked like in the days, with regards to how did people feel about, I don't know, the supernatural. I am a person who played AD&D in the 90s, and I was exposed to a particular section of the bubble where people said I'm involved in satanic stuff. if I play AD&D, because it has to do with demons and Satan and whatever. So I played a game called Phantasmagoria in the 90s, which was kind of then seen as a horror game. I thought this was quite a squeamish game. I must say, except for maybe one or two depictions, this game is totally okay. So, yes, it's a horror game, but it's not something that would be off-putting if you would consider yourself squeamish or not, because I think the other things that we are exposed to are, I would say, with my sensibilities, totally okay. Marcus, I think the same. It's the same with you.
Well, and
So-
like it's not like it's a very realistic depiction. This is
Exactly.
like emulating a game from 1995. So think of
Exactly.
the graphics in a game from 1995. That's what, when you're playing Forbidden Solitaire, that's what it looks like. So it's pretty, I don't know, benign. This it looks
Benign,
like
there we go.
it looks like Doom from the
Yeah.
original Doom a little bit,
I
right?
think that's a very good comparison.
Yeah.
So, Marcus, I have a little fetish confession to make. So, obviously, I got started in computers at the end of the 80s, and it's early days in personal computing, so to say. What I really loved about this game is when you start off the game and you have that, I don't know, Windows. I'm not exactly sure what Windows we had there.
I'm
back
sure it
in
was
the
reflective
90s.
of whatever the game. No, it wasn't the 90s Windows. It was like whatever the 2018
Okay.
Windows, whatever that one would have been. Yeah.
So maybe Windows 98 or something. Maybe that's the vibe that I get when I look
Load
at
up
the
the
starting
desktop,
screen.
yeah,
Load
yeah.
up the desktop, so to say, right? But the thing that I absolutely loved was clicking on the Forbidden Solitaire icon to start the game, and then you hear the CD-ROM starting.
Yeah.
So this is such an ingrained sound and experience
Yeah.
from my early personal computing days that this was always it always put a smile on my face.
Yeah.
But you're pretty much into the next Solitaire game.
Yeah.
So-
I just want to go back to, because I totally agree. Like I really love
Mhm.
the menu and the just basically this is the start screen, but
Yeah, exactly.
the start screen functions and it works like a Windows desktop from 2019 or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to go back because like I think that it's worth maybe discussing and exploring a little bit more your experience with Dungeons and Dragons and that moral panic that existed at this time. Like this game is really and the narrative around the meta narrative that's being told in Forbidden Solitaire is really, I think, I don't know, satire maybe. It's kind of like talking a little bit about and illustrating how at least certain groups were so scared of video games at that time and how they could corrupt youth. And for Forbidden Solitaire, maybe there was a reason for it. Like maybe there was actual reason why people might be a little worried about it. But I think like the developers of the game, like Gray Alien Studios and Nice, that's what they're kind of like playing off of that sort of panic that
100%.
existed at that time.
Yeah, 100%. So just to go a little bit deeper, I mean, there were obviously a lot of cases where, I don't know, crimes happened, people died, and falsely Satanism, AD&D, and I'm gonna put in there rock music, right?
Rock
As
music,
well, with
video
heavy-
games, like whatever the new
Exactly.
thing was at that time. Like some people would clamp onto that. Yeah.
Exactly. So I would say that rock musicians or groups like Black Sabbath also had a difficult time with those specific groups. And I remember, Marcus, that even at our school, we had teachers kind of preaching us about the evils of Satanism present in rock music, present in games. Don't forget that back then, AD&D was played in tabletop format, right?
Sure.
So we all had our characters kind of rolled up, and we all were fighting demons, right? Rolling our dice, adventuring off to hell. And I think this is a little bit of the reflection that we get on the meta narrative with regards to the public outcry that there was. And this does it so well. But I think underneath all that, it is a very strong criticism against what the game industry was like in the 1990s. And I think elements of that probably still pervade today. But I think that would be more of the message kind of layered beneath that with regards to what were the expectations game companies had, game developers had to bring the product out to the market. So, and that's what I loved about this game.
I mean, I mentioned Doom. There was a narrative around Doom. Diablo a little bit later. Mortal Kombat, to varying degrees. Like there was just this moral outcry about these games from certain groups, and I think this is a commentary a little bit on that for sure. Okay, Michael, let's move on to standout item number 3, and we've danced around this a little bit, but I thought it was worth maybe bringing up and discussing a little bit deeper. So you're playing Solitaire for a lot of this, but the game of Forbidden Solitaire within Forbidden Solitaire is played you're playing as this wizard going through this dungeon crawler environment, right? And it very much looks like a dungeon crawler. It's in first person, and you're kind of moving throughout these different environments. You get text, a little bit of narrative that happens throughout the environment. But what I wanted to talk about is that this is, while it looks like a dungeon crawler, it's kind of a fake dungeon crawler, because you're not actually, you don't really control the character. It's just almost like a setting to allow the player and the narrative to progress to get to the next solitaire card battle with an enemy. And I think, especially as I got further into the game, that this is something that I think that the developers could have used to introduce a little bit more variability in the gaming loop and giving the player a little bit of choice as to which path they might have wanted to choose or something along those lines. I would think that would have helped freshen up the experience 7-8 hours into this thing.
100%, Marcus. So when you start the game and you enter the first room, there is a message that hits you that kind of sets the tone immediately. And I'm just going to quote here. So it's, with a spark, you light your fingers like a torch. And that already puts you in the mindset you're a wizard, right? And not a smoker, right? If that makes sense, right? So you're really in this particular world, and I immediately, and I'm not sure whether you have, Marcus, I played those fighting fantasy game books. I bought them and read through them ferociously from Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson, where you actually read a story, you are the protagonist, and then you needed to, if you decided to go straight, left or right, go to a specific page to continue the
choose
adventure.
Your own adventure, of course.
It's kind of choose your, okay. So this reminded me specifically of that, right? And I'm talking the books that were available in the mid to late 80s, early 90s, right? So that had, I think, character drawings of various monsters, be it an imp, be it an ogre or whatever, black and white usually. And so the one of the strong points of this game is that you don't need a map, right? To kind of sketch out what where the different rooms are, where the treasure might be, what you have investigated and what you haven't. So this, in a way, was a gift, but also, to go back to what you said, perhaps a limitation. Because I think after that initial joy that we experienced, and perhaps newness, because different mechanics were introduced, different cards, jokers were introduced in the solitaire game, it kind of got a little bit samey. So every stealth check, every puzzle was a solitaire game, and we needed perhaps a little bit more variety and perhaps also a little bit more agency where we were in this dungeon, right? Rather than to be led as a passenger almost from room to room. So I think that last quarter of the game, last third of the game, was the aspect that needed some spicing up just to break the rhythm and the pattern that we were used to. Um, so I think that the end was very predictable. It was not a bad ending, but something that I was hoping for an element of surprise, and it wasn't there for me.
Mm.
Marcus, you?
Yeah, like I would agree. I just like I wish the game was maybe structured a little bit more like those choose your own adventure
Yeah,
books that you were talking about, in that there was an opportunity as you as a player maneuvering through this dungeon to be able to take different paths.
yeah,
And I think that that would have introduced, whether it's maybe introducing some dialogue options or some different, you could go left or you can go right, like literally left or
yeah,
right in this dungeon. And then that would have potentially given the game a little bit more replayability, but also I think just would have given the given me as the player a little bit more agency about what it was I was doing and how it could cater the experience to myself. Obviously, that takes a lot more development and programming and
correct,
building it into the game, but I would have appreciated having a little bit more agency, because what this in essence is, Michael, is a visual novel in between card games.
correct,
Like, you're just
100%.
basically, yes, your wizard character is moving through this dungeon, but it's literally just I read the text as to what happened or the wizard is observing. I press the X button and to advance to the next one, and then I advance to the next one, and then there's a solitaire battle.
Mm.
And I think like that's good, and it does that really really good. But again, by hour 6, 7, 8, it's just like, okay, I understand this gaming loop, and it doesn't really evolve. And I think like having that dungeon crawler skin that it does
Mm.
gave you the opportunity and maybe made me think, oh, maybe I'll actually get a chance to go left or right. Maybe I'll get a chance to make a decision. And the game doesn't ever really give you that. And I think like it's a small miss, I would say, a small missed opportunity, maybe I could say.
100%, 100%. I mean, they do ask you a question at the end, but it's a binary
Yes.
question, right? So,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, there should have been a little bit more there.
Along the way,
So,
it would have been, I
along the
think it
way,
would have really
100%.
strengthened what this game is already, would have strengthened an already very good game into
Yeah,
something potentially even better. So,
yeah.
okay, Michael, that's it for our standouts and our deep dive discussion. Peek behind the curtain. We just recorded. We haven't had a chance to even announce this game, so we didn't have a chance to do community call out for community standouts. But keep an eye for future games. We'll be doing. This is something that we'll do moving forward. We just weren't able to do it today, so Michael will do a call out in our Discord and on Blue Sky to ask folks about what their standouts are for the games that we're playing, and we will be happy to read them out on the show. Okay, Michael, we end these discussions by asking ourselves one question: do we recommend the game? And if so, to whom?
So I would say a strong yes. I think the Open Critic score is justified. Maybe a number, I think 83 is the number that it got. I think it's right. I think if it would have addressed certain things that we mentioned, maybe it would have been an 84 or 85. But I think if you enjoy card games, Solitaire is a well-beloved format, then I would definitely recommend this. For horror fans, yeah, maybe there's not enough horror to satisfy you, but obviously it has the horror angle. And I think for anyone who remembers the 90s or is curious about what the world looked like in the 90s, this is a little bit of an expose. I think it's on the meta narrative. There are some great insights. Yeah, and if you like, I don't know, if you enjoy Balatro, I think this is another game that could scratch that Balatro itch, if that makes sense, right? How about you, Marcus?
Yeah, it's a pretty strong recommendation from you. This game starts out incredible. Like
Yeah,
I mentioned, like I had a really tough time putting it down when I first started it. And it's a little disappointing that the gaming kind of loop that they develop early on doesn't evolve a little bit more than than it does. But the Solitaire is still very engaging throughout. And I, despite not quite expecting it to take the 8 hours that it did, this is a game that I really enjoyed overall.
Mm.
And would recommend again. It feels like we've been playing a decent amount of games of late that you don't have to be a gamer to enjoy. Like
Mm.
everybody has, like literally everybody has played Solitaire on their
Mm.
Windows PC. My parents that
Correct.
don't play games have played it on their PC version of Solitaire. If you've done that, you could get this game. It starts adding up and it makes it a little bit more complicated, but it does so at such a nice pace that I don't think that you need to be like a card aficionado to be able to get and really enjoy this game. So
Very true.
yeah, it's a pretty strong recommendation for me. And I would love to see what these devs do next.
There is a patch with regards to difficulty level, I think that they've put in. So I'm not exactly sure whether it makes the Solitaire a bit harder. I think that's what it would do.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
So,
particularly difficult. We haven't
no,
talked about it, Michael, but like I think I lost about 15 hands. They give you
exactly.
there's an icon on your in-game desktop that allows you to see what your stats are, and I think I lost 15 and you were about
Yeah.
the same, maybe a little bit less than me, I think.
Yeah, 13 it was for me.
Yeah.
So, but just 2 games less, this is, I think, the total of 60 games
Yeah,
that
I was
you
going to say
probably need to
60
pay.
total. So
60, yeah. So,
yeah.
yeah, so round about where you're sitting, about 20%
Yeah.
of games you would need to restart, which is totally okay. Right?
Yeah, presumably there's a certain amount of RNG in this, so like you're inevitably going to lose some games just because you don't get the cards that actually match up and are able to do. But they must also, I don't know if they would. There must be some mechanism, some sort of programming thing that allows you to get something that you need because like um there was often times when I'd get down to like the last couple of cards that I could draw from, and it was like, oh yeah, that's what I need. That happened a decent amount of times for me.
But I also think had we won all those games, the game wouldn't have been much shorter, right? At the end of the day,
Not really.
It's still an 8-hour game,
Yeah.
I would say. So I think be prepared for that, right? And yeah, it's. I think if the ending is as it is, it's still a worthwhile journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Michael, that's it for episode 45. We finish these things off by doing a little bit of housekeeping. We, of course, would really appreciate it if you shared, liked, subscribed, and left us a 5-star review wherever you happen to be listening. Aside from that, you can follow the show on Blue Sky at Tiny Game Chronicles. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Marcus O'Neill 79. You can also find me on the 2 other podcasts that I do. Hype Factor, a fantasy critic podcast that I do with my good friend John. It's a monthly show. We talk all things fantasy critic. And then the other monthly show that I do is called Brothers from Another Mothership, or BFAM for short, where we talk about all video game related topics and argue shenanigans with my good friend Ron, Matt, and Quag. Michael, where can people find you?
So you can also find me on Blue Sky under Drellesh, DRELLESH, as well as in our Discord community. Link will be in the show notes. And you can find both Marcus and me on YouTube as well. So you're welcome to subscribe to YouTube. And Marcus puts out a YouTube short, perhaps once for every one of our games.
Yes. Follow us and like us on YouTube if that's something you'd like to consume the show in a video form. And then we are also doing some written articles for So Many Games. So if you'd like to see our thoughts, we're doing 1 article a month over there. As of recording, we may have a new one up, but if not, you can always check out Michael's most recent one on a Highland song. So if you want to see our thoughts in written form for one of the games that we've talked about on the show, you can check us out at somanygames.co.uk. Okay, Michael, the last thing we need to do is introduce our next game.
Bum, 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 bum.
So this game actually, this is a first for us, and we did receive a code for this one. So we have been offered codes in the past, and we really wanted to be picky about this. This one looks
Mm.
really interesting to us, so we decided to take the code and do an episode on it. So this is developed and published by an Italian studio by the name of Geigo. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Mhm.
Um, in this visual novel, three teenagers find a mysterious audio tape recording which turns out to be evidence of a murder. It's the end of the world as they know it. Immerse yourself in a kinetic novel that encapsulates the essence of the 1990s by completely reinventing the music scene. And the name of this game, Michael, is
1997 Reloaded.
yes. So you've started this game already. We're fortunate. It's coming out in a couple of days as of recording. But the devs were uh,
Kind enough.
kind enough. Thank you, kind enough to provide us with a code a few days early. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking this one out. It interesting art style. I think cool concept, and yeah, it looks good. Let's give it a shot.
Let's give it a shot. As I said, I played the first half an hour, and I must say that I'm blown away with regards to the art and how art was used in this game. It's got a beautiful color scheme. Visual novels obviously is a thing, for us with regards to it could be hit or miss. But so far for me, it is a total hit. It is unapologetically Italian. And yeah, I love being a passenger on this visual experience. So far, the first half an hour, I highly recommend it. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, Michael, I guess that's it for us today. I will just end things by saying thank you for listening, and we will be back in 2 weeks with 1997
1997
Reloaded.
Reloaded. See you then.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.